The snow on Outpost IX didn't fall. It hovered, suspended by electrostatic anomalies still pulsing from the fractured reactors buried deep beneath the ice. Elias Ward squinted at the swirling particles dancing around his faceplate like confused moths. They made his HUD blink with warnings every few seconds, which he promptly ignored. His gloves were stiff from the cold, his boots sank with each step, and his comlink repeated the same cheery auto message on loop. Evac in T-27 hours. Please remain calm. Cold-induced hallucinations are not covered under active duty benefits. He had no hallucinations, not yet. Just a faint nausea that might have been from the rations or the creeping suspicion that something was watching him from the shadows of the half-collapsed loading bay. Anyone home? He called into the hollow echo of steel bones and ghosted scaffolding. His voice came back slower than it should have, warped by magnetic interference. Anyone? One. Silence returned. It was the heavy kind, the kind that made a man's heartbeat sound too loud inside his helmet. He sighed, flicking on the thermal overlay. The screen flickered once, then bathed everything in deep blues and reds. Nothing. No life forms. No signs of movement. That was good. Probably. Then she grabbed his wrist. Her grip was like a clamp, cold and firm, fingers long and surprisingly warm at the center, like her skin was a sheath for something pulsing and alien underneath. She came from the shadows like smoke materializing into shape, tall, angular, armored in tight layers that shimmered like liquid graphite. Her helmet retracted instantly, revealing not a monstrous visage but a woman's face, eerily human save for the ears. Long, tapering upward and back, they twitched like they were trying to hear thoughts. Her eyes were silver and sharp as broken glass. He froze, breath stilled, half expecting the neural spike of a subdermal injector to slide between his ribs. But she didn't stab him. Instead, her voice quivered. "Why aren't you afraid of me, human?" Elias blinked, then blinked again. "Because I thought you'd be taller." Her expression didn't change. "Okay, that joke usually works," he added, attempting a shrug which was hard with one arm locked in her grip. Her ears twitched. "Explain." "It's a cultural reflex. Diffuse tension with humor. You terrify everyone. I figured, worst case, you kill me with less paperwork if I make you laugh." The corner of her mouth twitched. Not a smile. Something like a micro-glitch in her emotional programming, if she had any. She let go and he resisted the urge to shake his hand like it had been caught in a hydraulic press. "You are Elias Ward, corporal, maintenance engineer. 0 confirmed kills, not considered a threat." "Well, harsh. You forgot excellent poker face and underrated charm." "I did not forget. There was no evidence to support either claim." He squinted. "Did you just make a joke?" "No, definitely a joke." She stepped back, eyes scanning him. "You are alone. For now. No extraction confirmed from your command." "Yeah, I noticed." He took a breath, letting the tension bleed from his shoulders. "You gonna detain me?" "Technically, yes." She gestured toward the stairwell with a subtle tilt of her chin. "You will follow, or I will drag." "Well, since you asked so politely." He followed. They moved through corridors choked with frost and frozen cables. The old AI core's voice occasionally warbled through broken intercoms like a drunk prophet. "Warning. Time is a nonlinear construct. Lunch is delayed indefinitely." Carol, as she eventually introduced herself, walked like a dancer trapped in a soldier's body, graceful but alert. She didn't speak unless it served a purpose. Elias, by contrast, couldn't shut up. So, those ears. Can they actually hear better, or are they just fashion? "They are attuned to electromagnetic vibrations. I can detect shifts in pulse and tone from several meters away." "So they're lie detectors." "Among other things." That explains my last 3 relationships." She stopped abruptly. "You joke to mask discomfort." "I joke to survive awkward silences." "You are uncomfortable." "I'm handcuffed to an alien assassin, with a fondness for monologues." "What gave it away?" "I am not an assassin." "Right, just very assertive in your diplomacy." She tilted her head. studying him like a curious biologist watching a mouse trying to escape a maze it didn't realize had no exit. Then she opened the door to the old control room. Elia's breath fogged as he stepped inside. The station's nerve center was a skeletal grid of hollow consoles and dim indicator lights. Screens flickered with ghost data. Carol moved to a central panel, placing her palm on the interface. Bioluminescent tendrils of light snaked from her skin into the circuitry. The system hummed, revived by her touch. "Your people bombarded this station 12 cycles ago," she said without turning. "Why return now?" "Salvage, and it's 12 years, not cycles." "I was not referring to your people." "Oh," he paused. "Yeah, not my call." "Is it ever?" "Not if you're below pay grade." He slumped into a cracked chair, resting his helmet on the console. "We're all just pieces, even the big ones." The room fell quiet. Carol's eyes didn't leave the data streams flowing past her. Her face was still, but her ears twitched again. "I heard your pulse shift," she said. "Well, you are terrifying and kinda pretty, so it's a complex pulse." She turned slowly. "Is that more human humor?" "Nope, that was honesty." He grinned. "Weird, right?" She regarded him for a long time, then sat across from him. "Your species confuses strategy with chaos. You weaponize kindness. It's disorienting." "We do our best." He leaned back, staring at the cracked ceiling where a small leak let in swirling flakes of frost. His breath steamed in the air. "What happens now?" he asked. Carol didn't answer immediately. She folded her hands, the veins in her wrists pulsing with slow biolight. "We wait," she said finally. "Orders will come. When they do, either you will go free, or I will be instructed to eliminate you." He stared at her, then shrugged. "Well, if it comes to that, can I request you make it quick? Maybe a little speech first, something dramatic. You were brave, human, but foolish." Her gaze narrowed. "You are not brave." "Correct, but I fake it well." A pause. "Foolish, though." He added, "That part stings." Carol looked away. "You don't hide your fear. That makes you dangerous in ways I have not prepared for." He smiled. "You'll get used to me." "I hope not." He laughed. It echoed through the frozen room, warm against the cold metal and tension between them. Carol said nothing more, but her expression softened barely. They waited. The station groaned. Somewhere deep within its bones, something stirred. But above that quiet hum, above the war and silence and all that could still fall apart, two unlikely souls sat across from one another in the ruins of everything they'd been told to hate. The control room smelled faintly of ozone and melted insulation. Elias had spent most of the night propped against a broken support beam, jacket bunched under his head like a lumpy pillow. Carol hadn't moved much. She sat near the primary data core, one leg crossed beneath her, reading static lines off a handheld projector shaped like a crystal shard. The only sound was the periodic buzz from flickering overhead panels and Elia's half-hearted attempts to hum old Terran jazz songs off-key. "So," he said, breaking the silence with his trademark lack of tact, "do your people ever like dance?" Carol didn't look up. "Define dance." "You know, music, movement, poor life decisions made at weddings. The usual." "There are ceremonial kinetic expressions during solstice rites." "That sounds like the least fun way to describe fun." She raised an eyebrow. "You humans assign pleasure to erratic movement and repetitive sound. And you lot assign significance to breathing in sync under moonlight. Who's really the weirdo here?" "I have logs indicating your species once declared a cultural day of celebration, based on consuming ground meat between halves of bread. Burger Day is sacred." He stretched, cracking his back, and wandered to the ancient vending machine wedged against the wall, the screen half-smashed but still faintly glowing. "Want anything?" he asked. Carol tilted her head. "From that?" "It still works, sort of, might kill us, but that's life. I do not require sustenance at this interval." "Right, biosymbiotic metabolism, blah blah. I'm grabbing whatever hasn't evolved sentience." He punched a few buttons. The machine groaned like an old god stirring from slumber and spat out something in a crumpled foil pack. Elias examined it. Well, either this is protein paste or a heat-damaged sponge with a nutritional label. He bit into it anyway. Carol observed him with what might have been curiosity or caution. "You consume unknown food from a decaying machine," she said. "Just doing my part to confuse the enemy." He chewed thoughtfully. "Tastes like regret and aluminum." She rose suddenly. "Come, I've decrypted the inner logs." He followed her to the central console, where alien code coiled over human interface ports like luminous vines. The hybrid system was ancient, dating to just before the first skirmishes between their peoples. What it revealed wasn't comforting. "There was joint experimentation here," Carol said, "long before the treaty line, unauthorized clearly. Human and Cathari scientists splicing biosignature control into drone swarms." Elias squinted at the data. "Mind-guided units, that tech was banned. It was never announced to our council. I doubt yours fared better." He scrolled through corrupted files. These IDs, some of these guys were listed as MIA, disappeared during the siege of Soli's Reach. Because they were here. Great, so this station's not just haunted, it's guilty. Guilt is irrelevant. What matters is the intention. Someone meant for this to be used. Still might, he glanced over. "You think that's why they sent you, not just to scout but to find this?" Carol didn't answer immediately. "My assignment was classified," she said finally, "even from me." "Well, that's comforting." He slumped into a chair. "So, we're sitting on the biggest war crime neither side wants to admit happened. Neat. Should we make popcorn?" Carol sat beside him, crossing her arms. "You joke too easily. It's a coping mechanism. It's distracting. It's charming. It's inefficient. Now you're just being mean." Her lips twitched again, that near smile that barely reached her eyes. "I don't dislike it," she admitted. Elias blinked. "Well, hold my heart. That's the closest I've come to a compliment today." She studied him, then asked, "Are all your kind like this?" "What, ruggedly handsome and emotionally stunted?" She didn't answer, probably for the best. Suddenly the lights flickered again, this time more violently. The floor beneath them shuddered. "Power spike," Elias muttered, pulling up diagnostics. "That wasn't us." Carol was already on her feet, hands moving over her wrist-mounted interface. "There's an energy flux beneath level C artificial, shielded until now." He stood, so, not a coincidence. "No." They moved quickly through rusted corridors, snow dust swirling from broken panels. The lower levels were worse, half submerged in ice, metal warped by time and pressure. At one point they passed a wall where ancient graffiti still lingered, a faded human face drawn beside Cathari runes, a laughing man, a weeping woman. "Guess even back then someone figured it out," Elias said. Carol didn't comment. But her pace slowed for a beat. When they reached the flux source, it was embedded beneath a slab marked with both their insignias, Human Command crest and the Cathari spiral sigil, together. Sealed with overlapping magnetic locks, some of which were still alive, blinking like forgotten eyes. Elias pulled a toolkit from his belt. "Give me a few minutes." Carol stood guard, scanning the shadows. "Do not trigger a failsafe." "I make no promises." He worked in silence, fingers dancing over mismatched systems, patching alien signal intercepts with human bypass keys. Carol watched him, expression unreadable. "You are competent," she said. "Coming from you, that's basically a marriage proposal. Don't flatter yourself." The panel clicked open. Cold air hissed out. Inside, a chamber lit in pale green revealed a stasis pod, curved, almost organic in shape. Suspended within was something neither fully human nor Cathari. Thin, elongated limbs, subdermal light veins, a face built from compromise, a hybrid. Elias stepped back. "Well, that's new." Carol's voice dropped. "This should not exist." "It does." The pod systems beeped softly, vital signs stable, encrypted messages filtered in half-corrupted. "They were trying to create a bridge," Elias said. "Something that could survive both sides' environments, think like both. Be both. Carol shook her head slowly. Or serve as a weapon accepted by either, a tool of conquest, not peace. They didn't finish it. Yet it lives. He looked at her. What now? Carol didn't answer at first. Her hand hovered near the pod's release, then she lowered it. We don't tell anyone, not yet. He blinked. Wait, what? We say the lower levels were unstable. We found remnants. No life signs, nothing usable. You want to bury this? I want to understand it before someone else uses it. He stared, then slowly nodded. Well, that's a plot twist I didn't see coming. Carol turned, ears twitching. We will guard it until we decide. She paused. I trust you more than I should. He grinned. I get that a lot. And above them the station hummed, quiet and forgotten, but not dead. Never dead. Elias stood motionless, arms crossed, watching the hybrid's pod flicker like a bioluminescent heartbeat in the gloom. Carol paced behind him, her boots silent despite the metal flooring. She hadn't spoken in 7 minutes. He was counting. Somewhere around minute 5, he'd started humming the Terran anthem backward just to see if she'd react. She hadn't. So, he finally said, we babysitting now, I didn't bring snacks. Carol paused mid-step. This life form predates our war. It may be older than the first border skirmish. Do you comprehend the implications? I do. I also comprehend that standing still for another hour will permanently weld my knees. She ignored him and tapped her wrist interface. A stream of alien code danced across her forearm, sharp-edged glyphs forming a spiral. It's dormant, she said. Bioneural functions minimal, but the system is maintaining homeostasis. It's alive. Great, alive, and classified. That's my favorite combination. She looked over her shoulder. You are not concerned. Oh, I'm very concerned. I just mask it with sarcasm and poor nutritional decisions. She blinked. I have noticed. He approached the pod cautiously. The hybrid inside didn't move. Its chest rose and fell slowly like it was dreaming of something terrible and beautiful at once. You think it knows? He asked. Knows who it is, what it was made for. Carol didn't respond immediately. It knows something. No organism sustains itself without purpose. I know a few Terran politicians who disagree. She sighed. It sounded dangerously close to amusement. He turned toward her. Why are we keeping this a secret again? Because if either government knew we found this, they would extract it, study it, break it open to harvest whatever secrets it holds. Sounds like Tuesday back home. You make light of dangerous truths. That's literally my job. Her ears twitched. No, your job is currently unknown. You are absent without formal extraction, disobeying multiple protocol layers, and fraternizing with an alien combatant. You say it like it's a bad thing. Before she could reply, the lights overhead flickered. A low hum, different from the station's usual groans, pulsed beneath their feet. That's new, Elias muttered. Carol turned sharply. Power is surging along secondary conduits. Someone's accessing the lower grid. Please tell me that's a good thing. It's not. They sprinted toward the command center. Along the way, Elias tripped over a collapsed conduit and faceplanted into a drift of ice shards. He groaned. You are fragile, Carol observed, offering her hand. Your concern is noted and unconvincing. Back in the control room, displays flared to life. Someone, or something, was tapping into the station's systems. Command logs updated on their own. Old security protocols activated. Doors they hadn't opened blinked red. Carol scanned the feed. There's movement in Sector D non-human signature. Elias frowned. Wait, isn't that where we passed those storage tanks? Yes. Should I ask how many ways this could go wrong? No. They grabbed gear and descended into the sublevel. The ice grew thicker the deeper they went. Strange patterns etched the walls, symbols Carol recognized as a hybrid dialect neither purely Cathari nor Terran. A language born of something in between. Elias touched one of the glyphs. Feels warm. Carol pulled him back. Don't interact with unknown scripts. Oh, now you tell me. They reached the chamber. It was half collapsed. Ice and debris formed jagged towers around a central dais. On it stood a spherical drone, sleek, obsidian black, with a single red optic. It rotated slowly, scanning. Carol inhaled sharply. That's not ours. Elias tilted his head. Doesn't look like one of ours either. It's third-gen recon architecture, joint prototype. From the vault, or attracted by it. The drone beeped and shifted, aiming a micro-emitter. Carol yanked Elias down as the beam scorched the wall behind them. Yep, hostile, he coughed. Carol fired a pulse round. The shot hit, but the drone shimmered with a localized energy shield. It's adapting, she said. Like a really mean Roomba. They split, circling. Elias hurled a wrench because why not? And the drone tracked it midair, vaporizing it before it hit the ground. Well, that's fair, he muttered. Carol activated her neural whip, a ribbon of plasma forming in midair. She cracked it forward, striking the drone's optic. Sparks burst. It wobbled, disoriented. Now, she yelled. Elias sprinted and slammed a shock clamp against its casing. The jolt surged through the shell and the drone dropped with a heavy clunk. They stood over it, panting. I really hate advanced AI, Elias said. Carol knelt beside it. This unit was activated remotely. Its data logs are transmitting. Back to who? I don't know, her voice tightened, but they know we found the hybrid. He looked at the fallen drone, then at her. So we're on a timer now. We were always on a timer. Now it's ticking louder. They dragged the remains of the drone back to the lab. Carol began interfacing with it, overriding transmission cues. Elias sat back, chewing the last of his stale protein bar. I miss chairs that don't try to electrocute me, he said. Carol didn't look up. Then you should choose better company. Are you flirting with me or insulting me? Your species blurs that line constantly. He grinned. You're learning. A sharp beep interrupted them. The pod, the hybrid, was pulsing brighter, rhythmic, deliberate. It knows, Carol said quietly. Elias nodded. Time to wake it. Carol stared at the pod for a long time, then touched a glowing panel. The light dimmed, steadied. The stasis matrix held, but the life form's consciousness was rising. Soon, she said. Not yet, we need answers first. And we better get them before someone sends something bigger than a drone. He looked toward the hatch, like, say, an entire extraction squad. Carol didn't respond, but the look in her eyes said she'd already considered that. And worse, he sighed. Remind me again why I didn't fake a malfunction and fly back to base. Because you're the kind of fool who stays. He chuckled. Yeah, that tracks. The pod pulsed with a slow, luminous rhythm, like it was breathing in its sleep. Elias stared at it while chewing on what might have once been jerky, though the label only said protein-like strips, spicy fusion. Every few seconds, the station let out a mechanical groan somewhere deep in the walls, as if complaining about being awake. Carol stood motionless beside the pod, arms crossed. Her ears were angled back, the only outward sign she was processing a dozen risk scenarios at once. I know that look, Elias said. That's the I'm calculating the likelihood of disaster look. 72%. Well, that's better than usual. You're basing that on what? An unshakable faith in improbable outcomes and my lucky socks. You're not wearing socks. That explains a lot about the cold. Carol blinked slowly, then turned back to the pod. The hybrid is waking, but its neural pathways are still fragmented. Attempting to force communication now would destabilize its biochemistry. Okay, so it's cranky when woken too early. Got it. Cranky would be preferable to catastrophic synaptic hemorrhage. I'll stick to cranky. You handle the hemorrhaging. Elias tossed the empty wrapper into a bin that beeped and rejected it. Apparently, it didn't count as trash. He made a mental note to argue with it later. Carol tapped her wrist. Data cascaded from the pod's diagnostics onto the central terminal. I've isolated the last neural imprint recorded before stasis. Elias leaned over. That looks like a lot of screaming. Neurological overload. It was aware it was being sealed, aware of both species' involvement. There's resentment. Shocking. Waking up from an involuntary science nap to find your parents are on opposite sides of a galactic Cold War must be a real treat. Carol's jaw tightened. This wasn't just unethical, it was desperate. They created a mind that could process both of our cultures at once, interpret both value systems. That kind of synthesis, it breaks something, or someone. Or, Elias said, it builds something new, something we haven't seen yet. She looked at him. You're an optimist. I'm a maintenance tech. If something breaks, I fix it, or I hit it until it stops complaining. Carol gestured to the console. There's more. The drone we destroyed didn't just log the hybrid's location. It flagged a signal buried in this station's beacon frequency. Wait, like a homing signal. Yes. It's been transmitting since before our arrival. Someone knew what was here. Great. So we're not the only ones with front row tickets to this mess. Elias leaned back, rubbing his eyes. How long until company shows up? Unknown. The signal is old, intermittent, but it may have reached someone. Can we shut it down? Not entirely. The station systems are hardwired. I can scramble the beacon's harmonics, make it appear like static, but not indefinitely. Buy us a few hours then, long enough to figure out how not to die. Carol began reprogramming the beacon, her fingers moving in sharp, precise motions. Elias wandered toward a shattered observation panel and stared into the ice beyond. So, hypothetical, he said. Let's say we wake up our sleeper hybrid. Best case scenario, it becomes a bridge between species and makes everyone cry during peace talks. Worst case. It weaponizes its inherited knowledge and declares both of us obsolete. Cool, so it's a galactic teenager. Carol paused. I do not understand. You will. A loud clunk echoed from somewhere above them. Elias stiffened. Carol immediately tapped her interface, bringing up internal surveillance feeds. One of the upper corridor cameras fizzed into view, just long enough to show a figure moving through the wreckage, humanoid, armored, fast. Friend of yours? Elias asked. No insignia, no transponder. Fantastic, we've got uninvited guests. The two of them sprinted up the maintenance shaft, bypassing the frozen lift. Carol moved like a shadow, and Elias did his best not to trip over his own adrenaline. When they reached the upper hall, they found the air lock forced open, interior systems rerouted through a bypass Elias had used 2 days ago. Great, he muttered. I left a trail. You left an invitation. They crept through the corridor until the intruder came into view, standing at a broken display, examining the vault logs Elias and Carol had decrypted earlier. The figure turned. A human, or something trying very hard to look like one. The armor was sleek, matte black with deep violet trim. The helmet retracted slowly, revealing a face too symmetrical, too perfect. Skin that looked printed rather than grown. Carol whispered, clone variant. Elias hissed, those are illegal. Even by our standards. The clone's eyes locked onto them. Hello, I'm pleased to find you alive. That makes one of us, Elias said. I am Protocol Unit V9. I've been tracking the signal this station emitted. Your discovery is of great importance. To whom? Carol asked coldly. To those seeking balance. Peace cannot exist in stasis. It requires synthesis. The hybrid is the path forward. And you were just going to waltz in and claim it. If necessary. Carol raised her pulse gun. Try. V9 raised no weapon. Violence is inefficient. I offer an exchange. You surrender the hybrid. I ensure your survival. Elias chuckled. Buddy, I've had better offers from malfunctioning soda machines. V9's face remained serene. I can ensure its safety, you cannot. Pretty sure you showing up here proved otherwise, Elias said. Carol stepped forward. We're not handing it over. V9 regarded her. You are Cathari, logical. You must understand the value of preservation. Carol's voice turned icy. I understand the value of choice. V9's expression didn't change. Then choose wisely. With that he turned and walked back into the corridor. No rush, no fear. Elias exhaled. He's not gone, is he? No, Carol said. He's giving us time to doubt ourselves. Well, I'm fresh out of doubt. Just full of dread. She looked at him. Then hold on to that, it means you're still human. They hurried back to the lab. The pod was glowing, brighter now. The hybrid's fingers twitched. It's waking, Carol said. Elias stepped back. No turning back. She shook her head. Not anymore. He sighed. All right then, let's meet the galaxy's biggest question mark. The pod opened with a sound like breath after a long dive. The seal hissed, retracting in layers, and the glow dimmed into a pulse that matched the rhythm of a steady heartbeat. The hybrid stirred, limbs unfolding with an unnatural grace. Its eyes opened slowly, silver like Carol's but threaded with faint golden light. It blinked once, twice, then sat up. Elias immediately raised his hands. Morning, welcome back to consciousness. No pressure, but literally everything depends on how this next minute goes. The hybrid tilted its head, language acquired. Cool, so we're skipping small talk, great. Carol stepped forward. Do you understand where you are? The hybrid's gaze swept the room. This is Outpost IX. I was constructed here. Created, Elias corrected. You're not a machine. I am not human. You're not Cathari either. I am both, I am not either. It paused. Am I expected to choose? Carol shook her head. No, but others will. The hybrid looked at her. Are you afraid of me? Carol said nothing. Elias stepped closer. I'm not. You should be. I probably should have been afraid of a lot of things lately. You're not even in my top 5. The hybrid studied him. Why? Because I see you. It looked at Carol, and you. Carol met its gaze. Because I remember who locked you away. And I don't intend to repeat that mistake. The hybrid blinked again, processing. The terminal behind them sparked. Surveillance feeds went dark one by one. A voice echoed through the comm, V9 calm as ever. You have awakened the experiment. You will now surrender it. Elias muttered. He really doesn't do subtle, does he? Carol readied her weapon. We can't let them take it. The hybrid stood. I can go willingly. I was made to comply. Elias stepped in front of it. No, you're not a lab result. You're a person. You get to not comply now. V9's voice crackled. Resistance will result in destruction. Elias tapped his helmet. Wow. I think I missed the part where that was a compelling argument. Carol locked the door and moved to the reactor console. We can overload the station. Create a directional EMP blast. It will disable the clone systems. That'll fry our gear too, Elias said. We can shield the pod, but we'll have to run. Elias looked at the hybrid. You okay running? The hybrid nodded. I am capable. Well, that's more confidence than I had at your age. The countdown began as Carol initiated the sequence. They moved fast, through icy corridors that shook with the rising energy. V9 was already waiting when they reached the docking bay, arms behind his back like he was hosting a very disappointing party. You cannot escape. Elias stepped forward. Funny, that's what every malfunctioning toaster says. Carol didn't wait. She struck with her neural whip, forcing V9 to dodge. The hybrid joined in, moving with fluid precision, intercepting the clone's motions like it had been trained by instinct. They fought fast, quiet, no wasted movement. Elias darted to the emergency bay controls and bypassed the lockdown. The shuttle powered up. Carol took a hit to the shoulder but stayed on her feet. The hybrid landed a final blow, a burst of kinetic force through its palms, knocking V9 into a support column with a crack. He didn't get back up. They boarded just as the reactor reached critical. The shuttle lifted off, flames licking the platform behind them. Elias punched in coordinates for deep space drift. The EMP blast chased them into the sky, disabling their long-range comms and leaving the wreckage of Outpost IX behind in a silent bloom of light. Inside the shuttle, it was quiet. Carol was wounded but stable. Elias bandaged her shoulder with a first aid wrap labeled may or may not be medical grade. The hybrid sat near the viewport, staring at the stars. "You're free now," Elias said. "I am uncertain what to do with that." You start with small decisions, like what to eat, what to wear, what kind of terrible jokes to laugh at. The hybrid turned. "I have no reference for humor." "Oh, you will. You're already surrounded by bad influences." Carol smiled faintly, tragically so. The hybrid looked at them both. "You risked much for me." Carol nodded. "Because you matter not as a tool, as a person." "And what now?" Elias leaned back. "Now. We float until we figure out where we're going. There's a listening post a few systems out, neutral territory. We'll start there." Carol turned to the hybrid. "You'll need a name." The hybrid thought for a long moment. "Call me Vane." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Strong, mysterious, I like it." Carol nodded. "Fitting." Vane stood slowly. "Then I will choose who I become." The stars stretched ahead of them. No governments, no commands, no experiments. Just three travelers in a stolen shuttle, carrying the weight of what came before and the fragile, improbable chance of something new. Elias pulled a protein bar from his pack. "Anyone hungry?" he asked.